Welcome everyone to our Friday in the kitchen. My Better Than Borscht sauce. And Helene, we ready to go? Ahead of time is I have put on some rice to cook in my rice cooker. And especially right now is canning season, so you can usually find them. And I'm just going to pour the rest of this in here. And it may thicken up over time when it's stored in the fridge. Let me show it to you. There you go. I want to make sure I get the sauce, my favorite. There's so much flavor in the sauce. You get the sweetness of the beets and the apple, a little bit of maple syrup, and then you can taste that acid with the lemon juice and ready to go. Welcome everyone to our Friday in the kitchen. All right, how's everyone today? I hope you are ready. We are doing my Better Than Borscht sauce. And if you were here yesterday at our day 2 of the nervous system nutrition revolution, you heard us talking about how sauces are such a great thing. And Danielle Arsenault from Vega has her all about the sauce book. This is another sauce you can add to your repertoire. What I love is sauces are so easy to make. I thought they were hard. I used to buy them dressings and things in the store, the ready to buy. But now that I know they're actually easy to make, I am making my own. And last week we did a borscht soup, and I thought this week we could do another take on borscht, which is the Better Than Borscht Bowl and our, what I call our, sauce, Better Than Borscht sauce. All right, so I am going to put myself over here for you ladies. Okay. So you can see me. Oh, I'm going to pin myself too. Let me do that. All right. Helene, we ready to go?
Sure. But you didn't send me any of the ingredients, so I'm
No,
not.
that's okay, but we're ready to go. All right. So what I've done ahead of time is I have put on some rice to cook in my rice cooker, and I am using a black rice. So you can use any whole grain rice that you would like. So they do take longer to cook, and you can follow the instructions than just a plain white rice, because they have all of the fiber still in them. So this is a black rice or forbidden rice that I have here. I had no idea until I started venturing into the food world with Vega that there was even such a thing as black rice. And it is delicious. It is very nutty. It has a real nutty flavor. So if you want something different from a whole grain brown rice, this is a great idea. So I got this at a supermarket, a Whole Foods. This one's called Nero from Italy, and there's other brands that you can get. So you can get that in Canada and the US both. And so I've put that on in my rice cooker to cook. So it's cooking away, and you can't tell, but I can smell how good it smells. And I also put on to steam a little bit of broccoli here. I'm just going to check it. And I have a sweet potato that I'm going to put in the oven. This is going to be part of this. So you could use any potato that you want. You could use like a red potato, a russet potato, this regular sweet potato. You can use a Japanese sweet potato. And some of the stores like Whole Foods and some of the other, of course, specialty type grocery stores will have a ton of different potatoes available. And I'm starting to see the Japanese sweet potato more and more. It's one of my favorites. It has a really nice sweet flavor, but not too sweet, a little different texture than the sweet potato. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven. You want to wash the skin, and if you can, eat the skins, because the skins are the best. They have a lot of nutrients in them, so you don't want to just throw out the skins. So make sure you wash them and then you can put them in the oven and just bake them. I bake my sweet potatoes or any potatoes or anything at 350. So it takes a little bit longer. I'd say for a sweet potato, 45 minutes to an hour. Something like a bigger russet potato might take a little longer than that, but it's all good and it all works. And I just put some broccoli to steam in my steamer as well. And I think we can get started with the sauce. We'll make the sauce first and then put together the bowl. Now this is really, like I said, it's really easy and it makes enough. You could store some and have later on in the week. So what we're going to do, get my stuff here. We're going to start. I bought some beets and I used the beet tops for some juice. Don't leave the beet juice. So I've washed these and I'm going to cut off the ends and then just use them the way they are. I've scrubbed them. Now, if you really have an aversion to it, if you're not used to beets, the skins do make it a little earthier. So you could take the skins off. But again, the skins have so much nutrients that if you can, leave them on. And as well, if you would like, you can roast them. So you could pop them in the oven with your sweet potato and roast them. And then you're going to get a milder flavor. But I just find, for me, I like it with the raw beets. So I just do it raw because it's easier for me. And I'm just going to cut them up really quick. You don't have to cut them into a bunch of pieces, just small piece, just rough cut to chop them a little bit. And you could use 1 to 2 medium beets. These ones are smaller, so I use 3. It really doesn't matter. You don't have to get precise with this stuff, which is great. I'm also going to add in a Granny Smith apple here. So I'm just going to cut that up. And like I said, really rough cut. I washed this and I'm leaving the skin on. I don't need to take the skins off. I'm just going to do a rough cut. The beautiful thing about a high-speed blender is that it can handle all these things and chop them and get a smooth sauce. All right, so I also have some dill here. Let me put the dill in. So this is I said about a cup of dill. You can use to your advantage, whatever you want, but this is, I don't know, a pretty good handful of dill. You can put it into a cup. I'm just gonna chop it up a little bit. I'm gonna leave some for later. Put on the top for a garnish, and you can put the stems in as well. Again, like the skins, the stems have lots of nutrients. So don't be shy about using the whole stems. Now, if I were putting it in something like the salad as part of the raw stuff in the salad, like the garnish, I wouldn't want to have the stems. But for this situation, yeah, the stems are perfectly fine. I have some garlic here. I'm doing 2 kind of smaller cloves. You could do a bigger one. And again, it depends on your preference. I cut these up about 10 minutes ago, put them in here. Now, with your garlic, to really get the benefit of the enzymes in the garlic, it's best to chop it or mince it, however you're doing, at 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time. That allows it to release the enzymes. And that active property that allicin is what really you want to get out of the garlic. And that is where you're going to get your antimicrobial and your cancer fighting properties. If you can remember, chop your garlic or cut it up ahead. And I used to think that as long as I put it in the sauce and the sauce was raw, even if I just chopped it up at the same time, it would be fine. But that's not the case. Once you start incorporating it with other foods, it doesn't get the same properties as when you let it rest on its own for 10 minutes. All right, so I've got that. And then I'm going to add in some lemon juice. So this is about 1/3 of a cup, and I will give you the recipe at the end. So 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice. I also have 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar for our acid. And for my oil, I am using flax oil. So this is giving you the medicinal properties. So flax oil has very high in omega-3 fatty acids. And so this is why we use it. It's more of a supplement than it is an oil. So it's perfect to use in here. So I've got 1/3 of a cup and I'll add that. And then just because I was inspired yesterday and remembered from Danielle about adding some adaptogens in the medicinal mushrooms. So I have a 5-blend medicinal mushroom powder that's from Harmonic Arts. And you can get some of these, all these kind of things at your health food store or in some of the grocery stores as well. And I'm just going to put I'm going to say about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. And so you get all the nice benefits that come with the medicinal mushrooms. And so you can add those in. And one of the hints and tips that Danielle gave is to keep some of this stuff on the counter so you remember to add them in and just boost your nutrients. So the medicinal mushrooms will help you with to keep you calm. It's really good for your nervous system. So we're adding a little bit of that in. And then we'll blend this up. That's how easy it is. And then we can see if we need to add a little bit of water to it to thin it out. And that's it. There's your sauce. All right. I'm just going to check my broccoli, which is all ready to go. So I'm going to put it off here. Maybe a little too much. All right. So now I'm just going to take this off to the side as well. And now we have our sauce blended up, but oops, you know what I forgot? I always do this. I forget something. I'll add a little bit of maple syrup to this. So I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons. And it's always good. I never realized this when I first started doing some of this cooking, that making sure you add the sweet to balance the acid from the vinegar and the lemon juice is really important. It makes a huge difference. And I think I also need to add a little bit of water. This feels thick. But you can just add as much water as you want. So this is a pretty thick sauce right now. I'm just going to add a little bit of touch of water. And this you can make it to what you like and you prefer yourself. Now that looks good. And by the way, when you're eating this, don't wear your good clothes. That's all I can say. Look at that beautiful deep red color that you get with that. I have to taste it. Oh. Oh, for me, this is heaven. I think this is my all-time favorite sauce. So I wanted to make sure I bring that to you. Oh, so good. All right, now we have our sauce. We can look at putting our bowl together. I'm going to bring this back for my sweet potato. So I have my favorite bowls. So I have a couple of favorite bowls. They're not too deep and they're this is about 9 inches. And so I can see everything. I used to put them in the deep bowls and then I couldn't see everything. It would just be like just the top things. So what I like to do is start with a layer of leafy greens, because we should get our leafy greens in every day. Here's a hack. You don't need to make it as easy as you can. So I like to just buy an organic spring mix. And then I just take a handful. You get a lot of different varieties of lettuce with this. And I just put a handful in. And the way that I kind of measure for my meal is that it should be about half the plate. So they're getting your leafy greens. And this is going to give you some good satiety because it's going to fill you up. And I just cut it a little bit so it's not as chunky. Here. Okay. And then I'm going to leave it at the bottom like a bed So I've got a bed of lettuce. Then I can add in all my other beautiful vegetables. So I have my steamed broccoli that I'll add in here. Just going to add a few broccoli in. You could do raw broccoli too if you like raw broccoli. I'm not a huge fan of raw, but it's up to you. So I just got a little bit of broccoli there. And then I'm going to add, I've got some carrots that I shred up. Add that. So we get this rainbow of colors. Now I just cut up a carrot. My house, we use a lot of shredded carrots. So the other tip would be that if you want, you could buy, if you've got a time crunch and it's too much for you, buy it already cut up. Yes, it costs a little bit more, but here's the deal. If you buy the carrots to shred up and you never shred them up, that's a waste. But if you buy them shredded up and you use them, look at what you've benefited. And I have a coleslaw mix here that I have. So I've got some red cabbage, green cabbage, and a little bit of carrots. So I'm going to add that in. So I love to just buy it like that. So then it just adds, and you can add whatever veggies you like. What's your preference? A little bit of raw, a little bit of cooked. And I'm going to add in potato. I'm going to got my sweet potato here that I'm going to cut up. Give me another burst of color. So I'm just going to cut this up. And this one is hot. And I'm going to keep the skins on. If you don't want to, I think that baking is the easiest, but you could cut them up into squares. There, I got my squares I'm adding here. You could cut it up into squares first and just pan saute it. I'm going to say pan fry. Fry is not the right word, but just in a pan, you could just a little bit of oil, a little bit of water, and then just do it that way. You can steam them, cut them up and steam them as well. All right, so I've got a half there. And I have some onions. So in our house, we have these little containers that we keep full of diced onion and the shredded carrot and stuff. And so I'm just going to add. And then this way, I don't have to be cutting it up every single time I want a meal. I can just add these all together. So around the outside, I did my broccoli, carrots, cabbage, my sweet potato, and my onion. Beautiful there. And all I need to do is add my sauce. Oops, I forgot my rice. I'll add the rice to the middle here. Yum. All right. I have my cooked black rice. Just gonna take a scoop of that. So I've got my really piping hot rice. I'm just going to add it to the middle. Let me add a little more. So you can add whatever you like, but one of the things I tend to like to have a lot of rice and less veggies if I'm doing it. So it's about really making the veggies what shows up as the star of the plate. And you could add some lentils or beans like chickpeas to this if you wanted to add something else. And then all I'm going to do is add my sauce, just drizzle it over the top. And what I like and what I say is take as much or as little sauce as you want. One of my daughters does not like sauce, so she would take probably none. But I love sauce, so I would take a lot. And so I just added the sauce. Just going to add a little bit of cherry tomato to the top here. I've got some cherry tomato. And I have a little bit of the dill that I kept aside. And you have a beautiful, I'm going to add that to the middle here. You have a beautiful bowl. It's a great autumn lunch or dinner or both. Yum. All right, here we go. Now, what I'm going to do with the rest of the sauce, I have mason jars. I love mason jars. They're an amazing way to be able to store things. They're actually very inexpensive, especially right now is canning season. So you can usually find them And I'm just going to pour the rest of this in here. And later I'll scrape down the sides and add my lid. And I can pop this in a fridge. And I've got 2 or 3 or 4 meals that I can have this. This will last about a week. And it may thicken up over time when it's stored in the fridge. You just add a little bit more water, or you could add lemon juice to it as well if you want a little more of the acid. And there you go. You've got an amazing meal for yourself and your family as well. All right. So I'm going to bring myself closer and see if there's any questions or anything from anyone here. And see this a little closer. Let me show it to you. There you go. All right. And of course, I would mix this all up. I'm not going to mix it all up because I want to take a picture of it, but I'm going to take some here. I want to make sure I get the sauce, my favorite. There's so much flavor in the sauce. You get the sweetness of the beets and the apple, a little bit of maple syrup, and then you can taste that acid with the lemon juice and ready to go. You've got it ready for your kitchen. All right. I don't know if there's any questions. It doesn't seem like there is. I'm going to pop the recipe into the chat for you right now. And I will add the video to the recipe a little bit later on, after I have a chance to download it and everything. And here you go. In the chat is the recipe for you. Very good. And we made that, well, except for the rice, we made that in less than half an hour. And what you can do for your family is they can make their own bowls if you want. That's another way to do it. If people don't like certain vegetables, can do that and use whatever rice you want and mix and match. Very good. All right. On that note, I will, since there's no questions, I'm going to play my song and say goodbye. Thank you for joining me today. We will be, we will be back next week for sure in the kitchen. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to attend our sessions on Thursday and Friday, we do have, you can sign up still and get the VIP package. And then that way you get all of the recordings of the sessions. So I'm just going to pop that in the chat just in case anybody is interested in our nervous system nutrition revolution. We had some amazing speakers, some amazing information on the nervous system and also on nutrition. And we had one session on feminine rhythms and hormones and some of the challenges that women face as they get into perimenopause and menopause as well. So if you're interested, I put that in the chat. It's $47 Canadian if you're interested again. And we are going to be doing a 4-week course where we're going to be doing a lot of nervous system work as well as nutrition for everybody. And you get a chance to really work on your own. And that will be part of the VIP experience. I think that we're starting that in October after the Canadian Thanksgiving. So I think on October 14th, we're going to start with the prep. Because what I'm doing is I'm syncing it with the moon cycle and when is the kind of the most favorable time to take in and really benefit. So we're syncing it up with the moon cycle. And I'm really excited to work with as many people who are interested. All right. So I'm just going to put on some music and I wish you all an amazing rest of your day and a great weekend.